Hello and welcome back to Exothermic Plays Games. I'm Exothermic and the date today is Sunday, November 10th, 2024. I've been doing a countdown of my favorite video games of all time through each day of the year, and coming in at number 52 is Pokemon Unite. As I mentioned in yesterday's hint, this is my favorite MOBA. Everyone I have ever said this to has reacted with a lot of surprise. The cute little Pokemon game? That's the best one? Yes, it is, and I'm tired of pretending it's not. In basically every other MOBA video, I've glossed over the structure of the game because they're all really so similar with the towers and the minions and the lanes and the jungle and the win condition. Pokemon Unite is not. The map features 2 lanes and a jungle in the middle. There are no towers, there are no marching minions, there are no items you buy in the middle of the game. Instead, when selecting which Pokemon you want to play as, you can also modify their loadout. It's best to do this ahead of time, and you can save them on a per character basis, but you can switch during the selection process to pivot based on the rest of your team. Each player can equip 3 items that provide a wide variety of bonuses, from extra stats to triggered effects, such as gaining stacking health each time you score a goal. I'll explain scoring in a moment here. You can also select one on-use item with a cooldown, like a potion that heals, or the eject button, which gives you a short little teleport. On top of that, as you keep playing the game, you'll earn emblems, which are tiny little things you can equip to modify your stats further. You can only equip so many. These are never strictly upgrades though, as you're really just converting one stat into another stat, but this does give you a ton of control over how you want to approach a character, allowing for some pretty surprising approaches to the game that might catch your opponents off guard. You do also get an actual strict bonus if you have a whole bunch of them of the same type. There's different colors, and so if you match the colors, then the colors are rooted in the types in the franchise and stuff, like normal, fire, grass, you know, that stuff. But if you have a whole bunch of matching ones, you do get a bonus based on that type. So that is there. You do get a real bonus for that, but for the most part, it's side grades. After selecting your character, you load into the game. You might notice that if you picked, for example, Charizard, you're starting the game as Charmander. Some Pokemon go through their whole evolution lines, and others either don't have one, of course, or just ignore them. Justice for Munchlax is all I'm saying. As I mentioned, there are no towers, and the win condition for Pokemon Unite is radically different than most MOBAs. There are loads of non-player Pokemon throughout the map that are referred to as wild Pokemon, and they just spawn at camps. They don't march around, they don't really move. Defeating these gives you Pokeballs, and you can carry a limited amount that will change over the course of the game. Whenever you die, you drop all of your balls, allowing other players, friendly and opposing, to pick them up. So just because you killed the wild Pokemon to earn them doesn't mean they're safe. What you do with these balls, however, is how you win the game. There are, in place of where towers would be in most games in the genre, goals. Each goal has health, and you can hold down a button to score if you're standing in one of your opponent's goals. How long you need to hold it will depend on how many balls you're scoring, so there's a risk-reward element to that. But if you hold it the whole time without ever getting hit during the process, you'll score them to deal that much damage to the goal's health, get it to 0, and the goal's destroyed. Friendly goals also give you a temporary shield when you stand in them, and there's healing items nearby, giving a very strong defender's advantage. You might think that with the health on these goals and that the way to win might be to destroy them all, but you'd be wrong. Yes, the goals leading up to your base have health and do get destroyed, but the main goal all the way on the far end of the map has no health, and you can just keep scoring forever. So how does the game end? It's very simple. Each game is exactly 10 minutes long. There's a timer, and when it's done, it's done. And the only way you can be done faster than that is if one team concedes. there's a handful of other things that happen based on the timer too that I really like. At a certain point, some boss Pokemon will spawn at the northern and southern ends of the map. In the main competitive map that is used, at the top there is Regieleki, and not only do you get a lot of balls for defeating it, but it joins your team for a moment and marches to the nearest enemy goal, stopping to fight any opposing players along the way. If you can protect it and get it to the goal, it makes it so that you can score instantly there, rather than having to hold the button. The southern one will be one of the 3 other Regis in the game that give a buff to your whole team when defeated. That's different depending on which one it is. Those all encourage strong teamwork and cooperation across the whole map, but by far the big boss that spawns is, again, in the regular map. There's other versions too. Rayquaza. This spawns with 2 minutes left in the game and rewards a ton of Pokeballs, but also provides your whole team with a big shield that also prevents interruption when scoring. The other thing that happens with 2 minutes left, and this is the genius thing that makes every single game always exciting and adds a level of strategy to the game a bit, is that the amount of balls you score is doubled. Anything you score with less than 2 minutes left is doubled, so maybe you could have been struggling for the whole first 8 minutes, but then you just have a really strong last 2, and the game could go either way. There's a lot of nuance to how you go into battle, and you might need to adapt to your opponent's choices. Each character has several abilities they can pick from when leveling up at times, and you start with weaker moves, but then unlock some stronger ones as the game goes on, and eventually an ultimate ability that charges from participating in things in the game, and when it's full, then it'll be unlocked for you. You don't have a choice to make every single time. Sometimes it's just, hey, you hit this level, this thing you already picked, it got better. But the choices you do make are really important and can really carve out your own play style. My favorite Pokemon to play in this game is Snorlax, and I build him as a tanky, bully sort of character meant to start group fights, lock down kills at the end, because I probably just didn't die. I passively pick up a lot of balls by just outlasting everyone else, and when the dust settles, I can go score. But I like some other people too. Of course, Charizard is fun, getting to set things on fire and all, and take to the skies and be untouchable for a bit as you just rain down the flames. But really, with the objective-oriented gameplay, every character has a home, with some characters wanting to roam the map, some literally just wanting to defend their own goal and not really go out and do stuff, which is an interesting thing that is not really in other MOBAs, and others just going for kills. Of course, there's supporting characters that can help too. The roster's gotten pretty large over the last few years, and they keep adding more. There's a few other ways to play the game too, with casual alternate maps that are typically smaller and even quicker. You can have shared goals sometimes, could be conveyor belts to move around really quickly, there's launch pads, teleporter pads, sometimes unique abilities too. We're still in the Halloween season of the game, so I recorded some gameplay of the special map they made for that, where everyone has an ability to turn people into pumpkins. It's super fun, which is really the thing about the whole game for me. I've talked about in different videos about other MOBAs that I prefer to play the genre quite casually, so this ranking shouldn't actually be that big of a surprise. It has a ton of things I love about Heroes of the Storm, which is ranked just barely worse than this. First, it removes items. Second, it's using characters I actually care about and feel connected to. Third, it has a huge focus on team-oriented, objective-based gameplay, and that's really the most important one. But also, fourth, the accessibility of it is big. 10-minute games, guaranteed, means I know for sure if I'll have enough time to play. Being able to do cross-platform play on my phone or on my Switch means I can take it anywhere, and the ability to play very defensively as an actual strategy to win the game that way is a huge thing for me, and I really like the customization of the different item loadouts you can do for when I want to treat the game a little more seriously at times. Pokemon Unite is fun and fast, with a very low barrier to entry and a surprisingly high skill ceiling, and maps available that make it fun to play both casually and competitively, either by myself or with friends, all the time. Now, if only Nintendo could create a friend system on their platforms that doesn't suck. You can join me tomorrow as I talk about my 51st favorite game, where I do even more Pokemon and talk about the greatest dog ever made. Other than Ike. Ike is perfect.